What do you think was the holdup from you drawing the line in the sand and be like, I'm going to go forward with my dream?
So, two things got in the way. In my adult life, I have been kind of poor, I would say, going to school, working multiple jobs, doing internships. I didn't have a lot of time to devote to it because I had to get my bills paid and work more than one job at a time for most of my life.
Okay.
And then the second thing, I have Turner syndrome. It's a medical condition that affects memory and reproduction. And from ages 23 to or from ages like 13 to about 23, 24, I had a lot of medical issues that got in the way. And then by the time I was an adult, I was in so much debt with medical stuff that I had to work all the time.
NL Publishing Service Academy proudly presents Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast with literary success consultant DK Walker, sharing with you writing tips, marketing ideas, publishing information, and inspiring interviews for your author journey. So, without further ado, let's get right into it with DK Walker.
Hey, this is DK Walker, and you're listening to Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast, the number one podcast for self-publishing authors today. Today, I am joined by Jennifer Labauch. Introduce yourself to the room, ma'am.
Hi, yes, my name's Jennifer. I am a young adult, new adult fantasy author. I teach broadcasting at a college, so marketing and radio, and I'm just here to learn.
Cool. What made you want to write? Let's go ahead and get as deep as we can get, and then 9 times out of 10, definitely get deeper. So, what made you want to write? What made you believe that you could be an author?
My mom, when I was little, she just read stories to me every single night. It was fairy tales, nursery rhymes, chapter books, and it just had this sense of magic and wonder. And I always wanted to live in the worlds that my mom was reading to me. And the older I got, I realized that maybe not verbally, but I felt like I can write and I can get my ideas down, and it's taken me 30 years, but I finally said now is the time to really do it for real.
Okay. So you said it's taking you 30 years. Of course, a man never asks a woman her age. I would never do that. I'm not going to stand for the backlash. But what was the holdup in that process? And don't get me wrong, I understand. So I'm asking for
Yeah,
people that don't get it, because you can only be ready when you get ready. You can never be ready
yeah.
beforehand. It's virtually impossible. But once you get ready, then there you are. But so I still have to ask the question, exactly within that 30-year time frame, what do you think was the holdup from you drawing the line in the sand and be like, I'm going to go forward with my dream?
So, two things got in the way. In my adult life, I have been kind of poor, I would say, going to school, working multiple jobs, doing internships. I didn't have a lot of time to devote to it because I had to get my bills paid and work more than one job at a time for most of my life.
Okay.
And then the second thing, I have Turner syndrome. It's a medical condition that affects memory and reproduction. And from ages 23 to or from ages like 13 to about 23, 24, I had a lot of medical issues that got in the way. And then by the time I was an adult, I was in so much debt with medical stuff that I had to work all the time.
Okay. Well, I want to give you your flowers now, because that shows you that real talk, a lot of people will use that to give up. A lot of people use lesser excuses that's not even real excuses to stop. You had something that was burning inside of you for over 30 some odd years, and in spite of, you kept going. So remember, when it gets hard, because the self-publishing business is hard, when it gets hard, remember what you went through to get to this point and keep going, because something's greater definitely on the other side for you, because you've shown the intestinal fortitude to keep going when you should have been like, man, you know what? Man, look, let me stop, but you kept going. So with that being said, why did you choose the genre that you did?
So the first books that I read when I were little were Harriet the Spy, Matilda, Jack and the Beanstalk, Harry Potter, like all of these little kids or strong girls that either had to push through obstacles or had magic that they didn't know about. And I wanted to be those kids. I wanted to be Matilda so bad. And then I realized like I got in touch with Narnia books and that whole world. And that got me into Harry Potter and it just spiraled from there.
Oh, cool, cool. In the questionnaire that you filled out before you joined me, and thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, that you filled out before you joined me on the podcast, you said something that I definitely want to talk to you about. Why do you feel as though that writing is such a lonely world? Care to expound?
Yeah, I don't think unless you've attempted to write a whole book that anybody will really understand. You spend so much time in the mind of your characters that if other people aren't in your brain too, they can't see them. You can explain your characters as much as you want. You can draw pictures. You can take personality tests for them and everything, but nobody else gets your characters like you get them. So when you're writing a book, even if you get help with critique partners or someone just like listening and giving you feedback, it you still kind of really are alone in the process, at least until you're done at the end.
Okay. Well, I guess the flip side of that coin, looking at it another way, could be that the actual characters could be your company doing the writing process. God knows mine are. And I talk to mine all the time, even when I'm amongst family and friends and I get to mumbling to myself like I'm Rain Man or somebody.
Yeah.
And the people don't know, they just, oh, he's touched, he's a little off. But the people that don't know, they know that I'm working on the story. So it gives me, I guess that's my superpower. I guess that's author's superpower, that we have other people to play with or other people to interact with that nobody else can see. How strange that may sound.
It's like having imaginary friends, and I have a notes app on my phone that's full of ideas. I have a little notebook that I carry with me that's full of ideas, tons of sticky notes, and I'm sure my husband gets aggravated because that's pretty much all I talk about is my book.
Mm. So why are you so obsessed? Well, oh, okay. Why do you think he thinks you're so obsessed?
I think so he's in the entertainment industry as well, so he understands the passion for the arts. So, at least that's good that he gets it, and I think I'm obsessed just because my book is a portal fantasy, and my whole life, I have just always dreamed of accidentally falling through a portal or touching a magic object and taking me to my own version of Narnia.
Okay, that's what's up. What and that's a great way to think, by the way. So, speaking of a great way to think, how do you think that you arrived at giving yourself that much freedom? Because I think a lot of authors don't give themselves enough credit to give into the fantasy, the fiction of their brain, and actually, I guess, transport themselves there and actually mentally live there as we create our work. How did you get there? Knowing from what you went through, how did you detach from overcoming your medical issues, the bills, right? Working really hard, finally getting your book on the cusp of being released to, okay, cool, I'm here now. How did that happen for you?
So it definitely wasn't me on my own. 99% of this is my husband. Once we got married, he worked so much, multiple jobs at one time, and finally we were at that I could work part-time, focus on the book. And I know that where I'm able to have the free open up for once.
Okay. You came in a bit distorted right there, like it froze up. Don't worry about it. We'll just move on to the next question. And that next
Okay.
question is writer's block. You had said something about that in your questionnaire.
Writing your manuscript has been hard enough, so let NL Publishing Service Academy make self-publishing your book easy as possible. From beautifully designed full and ebook covers to uniquely done typesetting and formatting, our goal is to professionally enhance your manuscripts and book covers to give your readers the best reading experience possible. Need marketing tips, tactics, and strategies? We can help you with that. How about branding and broadening the reach of your author platform? Yep, we can help you with that too. So no matter what your self-publishing needs are, NL Publishing Service Academy has you covered. Just head over to www.nlpublishingservices.com for whatever your self-publishing needs are. And now back to the podcast.
How do you deal with writer's block, and how often are you affected by it?
I'm affected by it kind of like that's where it always gets me, is trying to go from the catalyst and getting from the catalyst point to the resolution point. And what I did, TikTok has actually been a really big help to me.
Mhm.
I read other people's books that they've put out there. I do tricks that other authors put out there, making playlists, drawing fan art, reading other books, taking a walk, and a lot of the times literally taking a break and not looking at my book for a few days and letting myself have the anticipation of writing again. So I don't make myself sit and write. If I'm not feeling, I'll let it go. And even when I'm really feeling like writing that day, I'll wait until the next day to keep that anticipation going.
Okay, that's what's up. Another technique that I find myself using is when I start a book or I get a book idea, I reverse engineer, right? So
Yeah.
I know how it's going to start. Like I got this great attention grabbing beginning of the book in my brain, not a problem. I don't think about nothing else. Once I know this is exactly the direction that I want to go in, I don't think about
Mhm.
nothing else from that point forward. I fast forward directly to the end of the book and I ask myself, how do I want this to end? It doesn't have to be like happily ever after. The good guy does not always win in my books, the whole nine. But however I choose for my book to end, it makes it easier for me to take the beginning, which was already put together, and then
Mhm.
and since I know how it's going to end, it makes it easier for me to get to that point. Because what I have is
Yeah.
two writing points, which is beginning and end. And now it's just up to me to let loose my creativity and to fill that up. That's one of the tricks that I've been using for quite some time. But you're right. Once writing block does hit you, because life does get in the way, and sometimes you don't
Mhm.
have that energy to actually press forward. And then some people, they still want to keep their butt in their chair and they write. And what happens, they write a bunch of crap they have to wind up throwing away
Yeah.
anyway.
Yep.
So you definitely have to find the best solution for you to like, okay, what works best for me, and then move forward with that. This is your first book. Matter of fact, your first book isn't even out yet. But how many
Right.
books do you plan on having in your author journey? Is this the first of many, or this is something that you just had to get out of your system?
First of many. This is gonna be a trilogy, but then there'll be 4 other spin-off books from the trilogy. At least that's what I've planned so far.
Okay, okay. With that being said, do you have a system in place when you write your books? Because I find authors that have a system in place are more productive.
Yeah, so before I even wrote anything, my book has a lot of, like, fairy tales and myths and lore in it, so I sat down and wrote out all the myths and the lore, the backgrounds about the gods and where they are, where they came from, their names, all that kinda stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then I did a rough outline of all 3 books in the trilogy, so I could put Easter eggs and foreshadow in book 1 to find out what's gonna happen in book 3, and then book 1 and did a pretty rough outline of book 1, and then went in and detailed it. So when it was time to write, I basically just had to look at my outline and just make it sound better, but I had it pretty detailed eventually, and that took me from November to March to get all the outlining and the lore done.
Got you. Time frame wise, how long did it take you to write your current book? Since it's in the hand of your editor now, how long did it take you to write that?
I started actually writing the book the last week of March,
So my follow-up question to you is, are you releasing this book one at a time? Or are you going to release them as a series as a whole first time out?
one at a time.
Okay, okay. And your projected dates for the next two books to follow the first?
I'm hoping that this book will be ready for publication around Easter time. So book 2 probably around Thanksgiving of next year.
Okay. And you are doing the self-publishing process, correct?
Yes.
So have you picked out your cover and everything?
Not yet. I haven't even I'm trying to do one little step at a time and not overwhelm myself.
Oh, Jesus, which is definitely smart, right? Oh, that's another hack you can also use as well. So when your brain is not cooperating and not allowing you to write, there's other aspects you can, like, I'm not in the mood to write today, but I can go work on my cover. I'm not in the mood to write
Right.
today, but I can go work on my blurb. I'm not in the mood to write today, but I can go do some marketing work. So there's always
Yeah.
book work to be done. It is not relegated to only writing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, to say the least. What is who are some of your favorite authors that's in your genre?
Holly Black, Cassandra Clare, Victoria Aveyard. I really like indie author Britt Stark and T.L. Combs.
And how big of an impact or a writing influence have they had on you? Do you see yourself writing and seeing how you're maybe mirroring some of the things that they do because they had that such a big impact on you?
Yeah, as far as quippy lines from the villains and the lush world building, I'm definitely trying to get on their level.
It's and don't hold yourself or don't beat yourself up too much if you don't think that you have gotten there yet. And the reason being, the people that you name, pardon me, they've been writing for quite some time, and so you can't expect yourself to hit that bar your first book out. Not saying it's not
Right.
possible to hold yourself to that high is asking too much. And I think a lot of authors do that as
Right.
well. Now, don't tell your story the best way you can tell your story. And then the more that you tell your story, the better your story will come out.
Yes. Yeah, and comparison is the worst enemy for all of us.
Right. And how do you avoid that comparison? Or you've already mastered I'm not going to allow this to be, the thief of my joy.
I mean, it's really hard. I just try to tell myself, I think I have a good book. I think I have as much of a unique plot as a person can have at this point, and just trust that my words are good enough.
Right, right, right. It's only that you can. Before I bring this to a close, and I know that you don't have your book out yet, but still, you come across as wise beyond your years. What advice would you give to any author that will be in your shoes? Say they're struggling, they have a limited budget, but they have this book that's been dying to get out of them. What advice would you give to them?
Get on Facebook and find critique partners or writers groups in your local area. I have a great writers group who give me fantastic critique, and I couldn't have done this without them.
Oh, that's definitely what's up. So you believe in creating community first, correct?
Definitely.
Yeah, to say the least. And that's another thing that actually takes away the loneliness of writing, because people that's within your writing
Yes.
community definitely understand the journey that we are on, right? So that when you're
Yeah.
feeling a certain type of way or things may not be turning out as you would like them, you can always lean on that community.
That's so true. That's so true.
Yeah, and I think, and I don't want that to go over authors' head that's listening to this podcast interview, right? Stop trying to do everything by yourself, right? I
Yeah.
promise you. I understand that it's your computer and your thoughts at the end of the day, but everything else you don't have to do it by yourself. Because what happens is if you don't have people supporting you, believing in you as much as you believe in yourself, and sometimes even more, then you run the risk of burning out, overthinking, comparing to other your favorite authors, things of this nature. No, get around a group of supportive people that's going to push you through. And sometimes it's not family members, because if family members are not creative, if they're not within the entertainment
Yeah.
industry, they won't have that understanding. And so you'll be looking to them to
Yeah.
be like, oh, you should understand what I'm going through. And they're not writers. You're being selfish. So go find other writers that's going through what you're going
Yes.
through, and they will definitely, right. Yeah, they will,
Yes.
yes.
Oh, that's so true. I tried to work on another book for so long, and I didn't have a writers group yet, and I just couldn't get through it. And then this book, I found a group of friends that were also writers from a writers group here in Cincinnati, and it totally changed my life.
Congratulations, congratulations. Being smart enough, knowing like it has to be more than me to get the job done.
Yeah.
If you don't mind adding me to your community, anytime that you
Of
need
course.
help, advice, whatever, anytime you want to jump back on the podcast, you have an open invite to do. Before I bring this to a close, last question: where do you see yourself at 3 years from now as an author?
3 years from now, I hope that my trilogy is fully done and published, and I would love to go on a little mini book tour in the Midwest and be able to sign in person my book to a reader that's a stranger.
And this crazy thing, hun, because well, God bless you and your beautiful vision. That's first and foremost.
Thank you.
Second thing is that is so doable. The more success that comes to you, that'll change. I promise you that. But before the first ounce, before the first drop in the bucket of success that comes to you, hold on to that what you just shared with me, because like we have so many reasons why we write, and sometimes I just wanted to affect a stranger, just like you said. I just want somebody to be happy to have my book, to have a conversation about my book, like somebody I don't know, because we expect our families to blow smoke, to tell us how great.
Yes.
They didn't even read the book. They just, oh, you did a great job. Like, what? And then you ask about a character, and then they act, you're like, oh, okay, really? But when a stranger takes time out to, I need to meet you, that is a job well done.
Yes, exactly. That's so true.
To say the least. Look, y'all could have been anywhere in the world today. Y'all chose to spend this time with your boy DK Walker, and for that, I am so thankful, so thankful. I don't know where you're listening to this podcast at, but if you're listening to it on Apple Podcasts, leave me a review. Leave me an honest review. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, join my channel. Join my channel. I would greatly appreciate that. I will catch you good folks next week. Jennifer, tell the people bye-bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
And thank you for being on. I greatly appreciate it, hon.
Thank you too.
This episode of Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast has ended. But please be sure to subscribe for more literary strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable, successful author career you've always wanted. And don't forget to rate and leave a review so we can continue to bring you the best author and book-related content. See you on the next episode.